We're gonna look at forces, how they can change, how they can move things. And so anytime we talk about force, this is going to be a push or a pull on an object. And so these things interact with everything around us. I'm sure you may have heard of Newton's laws. That's what we'll get into later. But for this time, though, we're going to just kind of look at how forces can change and how we can calculate those changes based on certain movements. So you have your handout. On the handout, it says Oryx Net Force. It has 8 boxes that you're going to fill in and work on as we go through this. So to begin, so on your paper where it says number 1, draw a picture of what this slide looks like. Now, to save you time so that your picture is not some detailed orc, I would draw a picture similar to, you can put an X for the orc, and for that circle, you can put a circle or you can put a square. So on your paper by the picture, draw that image, include an arrow showing what direction it's moving. Before you move on, make a prediction or a guess or an estimation of how you think this orc will move. And so write that down. Pause the video if you need to. And so we have one orc moving to the right, and so if we click, we see the animation, it moves to the right. So where it says explanation of motion, write that you have one orc move to the right. All right, number 2, draw a picture of what this one looks like. After you've drawn this picture, make a prediction of what you think the movement and the motion would be at this type of interaction. And so remember, in all of these examples, these orcs have an equal amount of strength. So they're all the same. It's one orc against another orc. Now let's see what happens. And so they didn't go anywhere. So as far as an explanation, there's no movement. We don't have any movement because these are equal forces. Because I have one orc against another orc. They don't overpower each other. They work against each other. So number 3. Same thing, draw your orcs. This time though, we have one orc on the left side that's pushing to the right, and we have 2 orcs on the right side pushing to the left. Now looking at it, you should be able to see we've got one side that has more orcs on there than the other, and so write your prediction. How do you think it's going to move? To the left, to the right, up or down? Whenever you have examples like this, the orcs cancel each other out. So like, let's click through, let's see some things. So it ends up moving to the left with one orc. So let's see an explanation for this. Whenever we have opposite forces, opposite meaning that they're on different sides of each other, when you have opposite forces, orcs cancel out. So think of it like in math, pairs. So we get rid of them because they're equal. And so that leaves you with one orc left, and that orc then pushes it to the right, or sorry, to the left. So by explanation of motion, you can put one orc to the left. All right, example 4. So same thing, draw the orcs. I have one orc going down, 2 orcs going up. And so again, we have opposite forces, and so you're going to have to cancel out the forces that are opposite each other. So we have one canceling here, one canceling there. And so our explanation of the motion is that we have one orc moving up. All right, example 5. So same thing. 1, 2, 3, 1. We have 6 to the right compared to 2 to the left. So since they're opposites, they cross out, or we could do 6 minus 2 gives us 4. And so whatever side you have the greater amount of force, that's the direction they're going to be traveling. And so these 4 that are left over travel to the right. So on that one, so your explanation is 4 orcs to the right. All right, example 6. I have 2 moving down, 3 moving to the right. Now before moving on, make your prediction on this one. Do you think it's going to move to the right? Is it down? Does it move up? Things can move diagonally. Now, this example looks different than all of our previous examples because we don't have forces working opposite each other. So this time, they're working together. So think of if you and a friend were trying to move a heavy piece of furniture. If you're both on different sides of the sofa trying to move it, it's harder to move it because you're working against each other. Unless the other person's a lot stronger, then of course it's different. But if you stand on the right side of it, someone stands behind the sofa and they push it, it's gonna move more easily because you're working together. So in this example, you add the forces, and that's why it moves down and to the right. So you take those 2 plus those 3, and you end up having 5 orcs moving, we'll just say down and to the right. Or you can say diagonally to the right. All right, here's number 7. So instead of the picture, I know that space is smaller, I would just write it as numbers. So you have 2 moving down, 3 are moving up, 2 is moving to the right, and 5 are moving to the left. And so now we have, all of these are opposite each other. This one is opposite that, this is opposite this. And so I would subtract things, cancel them out. So let's see how that works. So those 2 cancel, and that leaves us with 3. On the other side, up and down, those pairs cancel. That leaves us with 1. So as far as your explanation, you should have 4 orcs moving diagonally up, or you can say up and to the left. And so those are all different examples of how forces can work against each other or with each other. And so remember, if it's opposite forces, you're going to subtract it. If it is similar forces, you add it if they're working together. Now I know in your paper it gives you 8 examples, and so that last one, number 8, is going to be an example you create of your own. Also, look at the back of your paper. You're going to make 5 other examples. And so I provided an example for you already, showing you I don't expect you to draw orcs or to draw shapes and things like that. And so just use numbers and arrows, but make up 5 of your own examples. On the right side or the right column where it says word problem or an explanation of the movement, you would write out that, just like I put, you've got 24 orcs moving south and 5 orcs moving north. How many orcs are moving in what direction? And you can use anything instead of orcs. If you'd rather say dogs or people or dinosaurs, that's your call. But you're just making examples of showing how forces can move. When you're done with this paper, you're going to make sure your name is on it, and you'll turn it into the tray.